Hi and welcome to an all-new episode of the Riders Lounge podcast. I'm your host for the show, Steve Sommerfeld, and this is another Shed Talk mini-series. If you didn't tune into the last one, all it is just kind of wrapping things up about what's been going on in FMX. And it's been a couple of weeks now, actually. I was going to do this at least once every week, if not every two. But I completely blew my voice out straight after that last episode. The reason was I was down there in Barcelona for the Monster Energy MotoGP Catalunya event, which was freaking awesome. It was so good to get back down there. But unfortunately, I blew out the old voice box. And I'm going to say half of that was my fault, and the other half was just going to dinner. We had an awesome dinner planned, the Monster team had an awesome dinner planned. And where it was, we had the best sushi, except Marcus Olsen's mechanic. He's like, my dog wouldn't eat this. So he had to order a special steak or something. I can't remember. It was so good. But when we finished that dinner, it was technically actually at a nightclub. Basically, your spoon went down after your pudding, and they ripped the table out from underneath us. The music was up, everyone's dancing. And you know what it's like when you're in a nightclub and you're trying to talk to someone and you're screaming at the top of your lungs. And I was like, uh-oh, got to be professional now. Get out of here because I will end up blowing out my voice, which is exactly what happened. So the next day, I've got these special tablets, they got me through it. And the funniest thing was Axell Hodges, he was at the show, but his dad was there again, PH, and he's like, back in California, he's like, I had a nightclub back in the 80s and he had all these musicians coming through, and he's like, they'd be smoking, they'd be drinking, they'd lose their voice. And he's like, there was one way that they all came back the next night and they'd sing and get the show done. He's like, just chew on ginger root. I'm like, what the fuck? Like that just sounded like crap to me. Anyway, him and I, we went for a little bit of a walk into Barcelona, up La Rambla, the main street, and he went and found himself a cigar. I went and found myself this massive thing of ginger from a Chinese fruit and veggie shop. And he's like, yeah, just chew on it. Just chew on it, put it on your tongue, put it under your tongue. It'll help. And I'm like, yeah, this just sounds like Witch Doctor crap to me. Witch Doctor craft? Craft? Yeah. That's what it sounded like. Anyway, next day, my voice was back somehow. It was kind of like putting a Band-Aid on a broken leg. It didn't fix it, but, it kind of got me there. So that is why I'm a little bit late on this episode. But, man, it was freaking amazing to be down there again. That Monster show was unreal. It was basically an X Games Best Whip competition with the amount of riders there. From Wanky, Axel, Vicky Golden, Julian Van Stippen. Andre Villa's whips were huge. Andreu Lacondeguy's whips were huge. Adolf Silva's whips got bigger. Marcus Olsen's whips were big, even though he said he wasn't going to whip because that's what destroyed his shoulder. But it was such a good show. I was pumped to be down there. Had Sam Zakali almost crush my face on his trials bike. That was cool. But actually, it was awesome. Ricky Carmichael rocked in. We finished one show, and I think it was Natalie. She's like, oh, hey, could you do an interview? We've got a special guest. I'm like, yeah, no problem. The FMX is just finished. With the music's still up. DJ Maya's still going with the music, and then we're about to shut the show down. And she's like, yeah, can you just bring one more guest on? Do you know who Ricky Carmichael is? I'm like, oh, yeah, I think I do. So anyway, Ricky and I were having a bit of a chat up there, talking about MotoGP and what was it? the sprint race or something. I don't know anything about it. I don't think he knows much about it. But yet the two of us were crapping on about that, talking about a subject matter that neither of us really knew about. But I hope it was somewhat entertaining. But yeah, no, it was cool. We had Ricky up, and I've got to give that guy some credit. He has got a good memory because he remembered that he remembered that he kicked my ass in a best whip competition at Goodwood in 2017. I was over there doing a show, which was unreal that Ricky turned up. They managed to get a Suzuki for him. It was completely bog stock. He followed me in, so I gave him a couple of speed checks, and on like the third jump, so 2 speed checks, he didn't jump. On the third one, he hit it, and he had that RMZ 450 upside down. It was ridiculous. Anyway, so yeah, it was kind of cool. Like, I've only met him once. Yeah, and there we were again, having a bit of a chinwag in Barcelona. So yeah, it was a good trip, and it looks like I'll be coming back to Silverstone in England. So that's in August for the next MotoGP with Monster Energy. And I don't know, maybe there's another one. Maybe one in Belgium as well. Let's see. Actually, a bit of news, which was really cool to see. It was I think it was on the Thursday, on the training day. And so the guys had just done training, and Andreu Lacondeguy sitting around, and they gave him his new Monster Energy helmet. Like, it was pretty cool. All the riders there, all the crew, the Monster girls, and there you go. So Andreu Lacondeguy, the newest rider on the Monster Energy team. Now, I don't know what the deal is, if he's on there for everything. I'm sure it is, because he is one of the best mountain bike riders in the world. Like, he's won a couple of Red Bull Rampages, I think, from memory. So the dude has got skills to cross over from riding Rampage to now riding freestyle. His whips are looking good. His flips are looking good now. Actually, he's got kind of like this whipped out Superman that I really was digging. Like, that was a pretty cool trick. So that was cool to see. I've been there a couple of times when riders have got their helmets, and it's always something pretty special. So yeah, there we go. Andreu Lacondeguy now on Monster Energy. Now, I was talking about X Games Best Whip. Like, basically that whole lineup could have been an X Games Best Whip lineup. So why not get into... I'm going to drop names right now, because I'm going to do a proper X Games preview with Clint Esposito. I'll be doing that tomorrow sometime. I don't know what time. It'll probably be on his Rumble account, and maybe Facebook. Maybe YouTube. I don't know. So if you follow Clint Esposito, then you'll know where to find him. And we will go through it. I will grab the audio when we're finished, and I'll put it on here as a podcast as well. So X Games Best Whip, which is just around the corner. I don't know what date is. I'll figure that out in a second and I'll tell you. But who's in? It is Tyler Berriman, of course, Axell Hodges, Jared McNeil, Guillaume Navas, Tom Parsons, Julian Van Stippen, Genki Watanabe, and Patrick Evans. Now, this is going to be an X Games Best Whip that will probably go down in the annals of X Games history, because those are some big hitters. And I would say the biggest whip we ever saw at X Games was Julian Van Stippen. 2021, I think it was, at Axell Hodges' house on the 120 ramp. That was so ridiculous. But I would probably say the biggest whip I have now seen, I don't know. I'm going to say, I think it's Patrick Evans on this new Stark Varg off of a regular 75-foot ramp. That is how insane that new Stark is. So I don't know what ramp they're going to use. Maybe it's off the next gen. Maybe it's off the regular 75. Maybe it's both. But, man. Can Julian take it to the new technology? I know he's moved over to the Yamaha, but yeah, anyway, I'm getting way off topic because I was just going to drop names, and that's what I'm going to do. We're going to talk about all of this and a lot more with Clint Esposito tomorrow. So best trick. Actually, no, I'm going to go to quarter pipe first. Quarter pipe riders, Tyler Berriman again, Corey Creed, Cole Denny, Patrick Evans again, Axell Hodges again, Guillaume Navas again, and Colby Raha. So there's a few boys there with 2 events up their sleeve. And best trick FMX will be Rob Adelberg, Harry Bink, Pat Bowden. Finally, at X Games, the big one. He did X Games Sydney, but not the big one in America. Tucker Higashino, Benny Richards, Jackson Strong, and Julian Van Stippen. Now, wait. There's 2 things I want to say before I finish on X Games riders list here. I don't think out of looking at that. Oh, there is. No, wait. That's best whip. Was Julian Van Stippen in quarter pipe? No. Okay, so nobody is doing all 3 events. It looks like there's a lot of guys doing 2 events. At the moment, nobody is registered for 3. And in the best trick competition, I see there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 names that I just said. I saw 8 names about a week ago before I was about to do this podcast. 1 name's missing, and I'm pretty sure my memory's bad, but I think the name that's missing is Sheeny. I'll have to go back and find out, and we can talk about that as well tomorrow on the podcast with Clint Esposito. So tune into that one. That'll be on Rumble. Right. I will talk about Night of the Jumps because we just had Night of the Jumps last weekend. I was going to do another Shed Talk preview of Night of the Jumps leading in, but I didn't do that. I just did it directly on the Night of the Jumps podcast. So if you're on Spotify, if you're on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to it, there is also a Night of the Jumps podcast. That's got the preview and it also has the results, which did come out, and maybe I'll just put a little thing in now, like just a little 5-minute clip from that. If you want to find out everything, because there's about 20-30 minutes of the results from Night of the Jumps, check it out on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, or wherever you find your podcasts. And this is what you're going to hear right now for 5 minutes. On top of that, it was the first time we had the next gen ramp in 2024 in Munich. Munich probably would have been the better location to bring that ramp for the first time, but being the first event, coming back after 6 months off, it was better to come back with the regular ramps that everybody knew, and then throughout 2024, we will start to build more momentum, build the event, changing the format as I just spoke about. And in Bremen, we had the next gen ramp inside a very small arena, unfortunately. And of course, we had Libor Podmol's birthday, the return of the 2010 world champion, 3-time Dakar Rally racer. Libor Podmol returned. It was his 40th birthday. What a way to start this Bremen show off. So who rode this one? Well, in freestyle motocross, we had Philip Podmol, Michael Malero, Marc Pignol, Nico Perrier as a reserve rider, Libor Podmol, Luke Ackerman, Pepper Aaron, Mikołaj Temka, and Matej Czesak. All right, so the next event that happened last weekend at the exact same time as Night of the Jumps, And the reason why two of the riders that I really wanted to have at Night of the Jumps couldn't be there, Javier Villegas and Colby Gort, they were in Brazil with the Brazilian FMX. No, what is it? The International. I think it's called the International. I can't remember what it's called. Anyway, this is also something else that I'll be talking about with Clint Esposito. I think we're going to be watching the full broadcast, or at least the full final broadcast. So we'll be doing that on Clint Esposito's channel, and I will release that. But just to give you a quick rundown of the results, in first place last weekend from Chile, well, just down the road from Brazil, Javier Villegas, 181 points. Colby Gort in second, 172. Nicolas Ferrier, or Ferrier? I don't know how to say it. From Brazil, in third position, 166 points. Johan Nungaray from Mexico, 136. Kiko from Brazil, 104. Pedro from Brazil, 99. Esteban from Colombia, 92. And Joaninha, always get that name wrong, 24 points. Fred Carrillos' name I didn't see on there, so I'm not sure if something happened to Fred. I'll have to find that one out. And the last bit of news before I go is King of the Whip is coming back for 2024. It will be on November the 23rd in Johannesburg, South Africa. So, man, I remember the first year I went down, and definitely last year, the second year I went back, everybody was asking me, how do they get down? They found out too late. They wanted to go to South Africa. They wanted to go into Best Whip. There is Best Whip and there's Best Trick. This event is freaking awesome. It is like, it's kind of like one of those cult events that I think you just have to do. Like in Australia, there was Narrogin. That was a cult FMX event. RFD, doing those events where you just turn up. It was not for the money. Definitely not for the glory, because we treated it like X Games, but I think we all paid like $50, put our money in a hat, and whoever won took the winnings. I think that's how it worked. RFD was big. Farm Jam was big. King of the Whip is basically that same kind of thing. Like, you just have to be there because it's so freaking good. And this year, I want to go back. The first year I was there for 1 week. Second year I was there for 2 weeks. This year I'm going to have to come back for 3 weeks, host the show, but more importantly, go on a trip to the Kruger National Park. That is my plan. But yeah, if you want to come down, if you want to ride, let me, if you don't know how to get on to King of the Whip, you can also text or email me, steve@invert management, and I'll put you in touch with Ryan, or just find him on Instagram. It's pretty easy. So that's about it. I'm going to keep this one kind of short, to the point, because there's a lot more info coming out. Like I said, X Games preview, the Brazilian comp review with Clint. I will be dropping those. I'll put this well, I guess I've already done it now. Put that 5 minutes in about Night of the Jumps. And yeah, the next Night of the Jumps will be in Zurich, Switzerland, round 3. That was actually, round 2 was awesome. We completely changed the rules before I go, because I don't think that will be part of what I just clipped in. We changed the rules, 8 riders, top 4 final. It just felt so much better. It was just such a good comp. I do know there's riders really trying to get there. Continue to just text or email me. And hopefully we'll see some new guys there as well soon. So yeah, next event, September 7th in Zurich, in Switzerland. Get your tickets. Go to nightofthejumps.com. Thank you very much for tuning in. This was sponsored by Rothaus Tannenzäpfler alcohol-free beer. I've been raking and mowing grass all day. That's why I sound probably a little bit tired right now. And I've just finished off my Tannenzäpfler alcohol-free Weiss beer because I needed some electrolytes. Because it is isotonic. That is what the Germans say. And that's why they send beer to the Olympics for the German team. Because it is good for your health. That's how good it is. Thank you. Talk to you soon.